grew up in Voorhees, in a lovely suburb of southern New Jersey. My mom is a physician and my father was in human resources. In my early childhood, we left the church. I didn't really grow up with a very strong spiritual or moral compass. I was kind of like taught that God was whoever you wanted him or her to be, and you know, you can kind of just whatever you want him to be. Heaven is whatever you want it to be. But I knew even as like a 5-year-old that that couldn't be true, because if I was in charge, like that's not how that works. My childhood home could be volatile at times. My father had a lifelong struggle with alcoholism, so that was sometimes, you know, he was wonderful and very good memories, and then sometimes it was awful and very bad memories. But that volatility really only reinforced that hunger and thirst for security, truth, stability. The laugh that I'm kind of known for now got me bullied a lot growing up. I didn't really have any friends. I had a friend growing up, but she was like, her mom would joke about like, oh, so-and-so just needs somebody to beat up on all the time. And that was kind of my role in life. But when I was a young girl, I started to attract the interest of men. And you know, having the home life that I had, that was very appealing to me. And so I did it all and came home, started dropping out of school, and if there was whatever manner of pleasure was available, I pursued that wholeheartedly. I did whatever I wanted to do, and I ended up getting all the manner of baggage that comes with that, and all the scars that come along with that, all of the mental and emotional scarring and instability that comes along with that life. I got that. So I started to come around to, like, you know, I'd date these guys and they were just awful, like emotionally unavailable men that wanted to do whatever they wanted to do and would keep you at, you know, like in the wings and use you for whatever they wanted to use you for, and wouldn't commit or give you their hearts or what, you know, like, and you know, every girl, half the girls on earth could tell you that story too. I found myself at the bottom of a very dark hole. You know, I had depression and anxiety were not like they were incapacitating and debilitating. And really, the rougher part of my teenage years, I was just looking for any reason to wake up the next morning. So I went back to the church that I had gone to as a child, the Catholic church, and I had just kind of had like a one-on-one with God out back, like, you know, if you're still there or if you're still listening, like, I'm really over it, and I don't, you know, like, some idiot had broken my heart again, and you know, I said I just didn't want to live anymore. And I had just happened to run into my old youth pastor that I had previously known for, you know, 5 minutes when I was 13. And I was like, hey, I need to get saved. And he was like, that's great. We're at a movie theater. And that Friday night I went to this college group and I heard the gospel and I never looked back. And I remember sobbing at the altar, and he was praying for me and said, you know, like, Lord, I thank you for this woman being here, but like, let these tears not be tears of just remorse and regret, but of joy, knowing that you've forgiven her. Because I had a lot to be forgiven. I started going to this college group, and it was remarkable that there were some things that had become ingrained that I thought would take years to fall away. It was like a switch, and I didn't lie anymore. And I didn't have that pull towards destruction and some of the desires, that they were just gone. The only thing I had was the word, and that was what I turned to. When the word says that, like, Christ is your rock and your foundation, like, but if you build with like hay or stubble or straw, that stuff's gonna get burned away, and what's left remains. It was a mercy, because a lot of the stubble and the straw and the hay was able to get burned away, but what was left was Christ. And for the last 7 years, I have been on a wonderful journey of Christ building the foundation of my life on him and on him alone, and redemption beyond what I ever thought was possible. I knew I needed the church, so I was never going to put myself at risk to love people and to trust people and to get my heart ripped out. My husband DJ, I met him at church, and we had dated for a couple of months and got married. But my husband and I visited a few churches, and we came to Kingsway. So I came, walked in the middle of worship and started weeping. Whatever walls I had tried to build in those few weeks were instantly just... So we decided to stay. And that began a years-long, almost a decade now, journey where I was kicking and screaming for some of it. But I felt like it was just the greatest gift of God. I didn't ever think I was going to get a second chance at the community of God, but through the very imperfect, humble, real human beings, like there is nobody here is perfect. The least of all me. But God just gave us a real shepherd and real sheep here, and it was a safe place to work out my salvation with fear and trembling. And if I could give hope to anybody, it would be for both those who have never tasted of the goodness of Christ. I would say, taste and see that the Lord is good, and he will satisfy, and he's greater than anything that you will ever find in the world. Everybody will let you down. Everything will eventually let you down, but there is one who does not fail. It's Christ. He's wonderful. I will tell you the same truth that I have learned every day of my life walking with God. Hope has a name, and his name is Jesus.